Hi everyone, welcome back to The Gray Say. There's a better way. My name is Zion, and I am the authorized human spokesperson for the Gray Aliens, who are even now waiting for us to invite them to Earth. And I have decided to do this new series, The Gray Say, in order to give you an opportunity to hear what they're telling me. Because I have contact with them already. I've been in contact with them actually since, well, my entire life. They have been in contact with me my entire life, but I have been in contact with them since 1979. And when I first came into contact with them and started interacting with them, I only knew of them as God, according to my religious beliefs in the Holy Bible. Now, they had already at that moment distinguished themselves from the Christian God, Jesus Christ, because when I called to the Christian Jesus Christ, I got no reply. But when I called upon the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob from the Old Testament, then the gray answered. So they answered me in the context of the ancient Hebrew God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it wasn't until the turn of the 2000s when I realized full on that I was dealing with aliens. And at that time, the reason why was because I asked them to give me some outside source to speak to me so that I would know that I wasn't crazy, because they had been speaking to me in my mind up until that point. And then they brought into my life somebody that I'm still associated with, who had the ability to speak for them. And through this other person, we had communications. And they told me that this next idea that I have may possibly be my greatest contribution to this current society. That this idea that I have, along with the help, and I did not create this by myself. When I ran the Temple of Zion prior to my incarceration, I had conversations with a particular um, member. His name is Jose. Um, he is, of course, of Mexican descent, but I can't even tell you if he's an immigrant, or an actual born citizen, because I never asked him. But he's a very good friend of mine that I worked with, and that he was a temple member, and we're still friends to this day. But we had these conversations discussing his love of boxing, his love of sports and boxing in particular. Not boxing, but the hand to hand, the where you get into the ring and you fight somebody one on one. I can't think of what the name of it is, but he was semi-professional. He was trying to get into this, and from his uh, experience with this league, um, fight league, we came up with the concept of a new sport, because our conversation was about addressing systemic violence within society. Things like men abusing their wives and children, um, men getting in bar fights, women fighting men, just fighting in general, and how throughout human history, the human race has always had this violent streak. And how can we create a society that is peaceful when we have this reoccurring theme of violence in our society, which has been exacerbated in this day and age by Hollywood and the glorification of violence in the movies? And so we wanted to come up with some means to address this issue in a society that could heal this problem, create a society that was no longer violent from this current society that we have here. And we came up with the grudge match, or the grudge sport, which is a form of street fighting. Okay? Our problem with violence is that we, by nature, are animals. We always have had a violent physical nature because it was necessary for our survival in our beginnings. And you can't really weed that out unless you come up with the means to do so. So the grudge match was our way of figuring out how to legally allow people to exhaust their violent tendencies in a society safely and productively. And it kind of goes like this. Every town or area, whatever, has a grudge match bar arena thing. Okay, so you go to your bar. And if you have a grudge against somebody, you can sign up for a match. Now, say, for instance, participant A caught his wife cheating on him with participant B, and he is screaming mad and wants to beat the holy hell out of him. So he signs him up. Now, by societal law, player B is obligated to show up for the match because it is just totally disgraceful in our society to not address an injustice that you've been accused of. And that's what this is. So guy A wants to beat up guy B. Instead of him beating the fuck out of him and going to jail and then having all these problems legally, he just goes down to the grudge match arena, signs him up for a match. Now, this is a sport. So, it's audience participation in these matches. Every hit taken by either opponent has to be justified with a reason. So, A says, "You slept with my wife, punch." Yay! The audience goes, because that's a good reason to punch somebody is because they slept with their wife. Well, then B says, "Yeah, but you were hitting on Jenny at the time." Bam. Oh, yeah. He didn't have the right to fuck with Jenny. See how this works? Now, if for some reason the audience decides that's not a good reason to fuck with somebody, they boo. So every hit is judged by the audience. Now, if you take the hit anyway because you believe you're justified either way, and you have that anger in you, so you take you give the reason why the hit as you give the hit. So you get your hit whether it's right or wrong. Then the judge, which is the audience, decides whether or not that was justified. If that was justified, the other opponent does not get a chance to fight back. He has to take the hit, the legal hit, and say, okay, that was a legal hit. And then that would give him another hit. So then he says, okay, you've always wanted my wife. Bam! Whether or not the audience likes that is up to the audience. So this happens. As long as he has a justified hit, he can continue to hit his opponent until he crosses the line that the audience feels is justified. At that point, boo, then B, the defendant, gets to throw the punch back. Now it's his turn. Okay? Up until this point, He has literally had to stand there and take the punches. But now it's his turn. So he goes, okay, I slept with your wife. Yeah, but you treated her like shit. Bam. Now, the audience might go, well, what do you mean? And then he would have to say, well, he constantly told her that she was a piece of shit. She told me this repeatedly. Oh, boo. Now, because the guy got booed, he was not justified. So they're saying, so the audience is, so he goes, am I justified? If he's justified, yay. If he's not justified, boo. And the match goes on until 3 strikes are hit by both sides. Okay, so they have to work out their problems in the fight at the pleasure of the audience. It's a whole drama soap opera thing every match. So they get to air their grievances. The society gets to decide who's right and who's wrong. And no matter what, each person gets both sides out in a sports arena. So you're not going to have a fight with somebody unless you feel justified. And then you have to take the punches as they come. Perfect sport. Okay. Now, that addresses personal grievances. Now, it's like we have doctors on hand to ensure that nobody gets seriously hurt. And they can call a fight if it gets too bad. Because let's face it, there are some people that really hate each other with reason. And so you might get 2 guys that start a grudge match for one reason, but they don't end the fight until every reason they've ever had to be pissed at this person was dealt with. Because unless they're booing and you know, it's like if they're not done, they're not done. If a fight is called because of health reasons, then it goes to round 2. Both participants heal up, and then they schedule a new match. So that 2 people who really truly hate each other could be like celebrities in this field because they'll be like going 10 rounds and everybody will be able to do this. Like, it'll be like, okay, so what did they do for 2? You know, it's like it could fulfill so many soap opera parts of Hollywood thing. And it would be real life drama that would solve problems in society. Okay. Now then there's another league, which is like I hate men leagues or I hate women leagues, where let's say a woman really always wanted to beat the fuck out of her husband, but she could never do it because he would beat the fuck out of her. But she wants to throw punches at a guy. So she can sign up for a grudge match against men. And then she can virtually beat the fuck out of every man who's ever fucked her over through this fight without ever being hurt. And so that she gets justification and she gets self-healing. And she gets this violent part of her that she's never been able to address before out. She feels better, society feels better, there's drama, there's excitement, there's a woman beating up a man. And then there's those guys that hate women. They're serial killers because they have no way to express their hatred for women. So they can get in a match with a professional woman wrestler and go rounds with them and say all the beauty poisony things that he's always had in his head and never been able to do and cause healing to happen. Drama, sports. Sounds good, huh? There's more to it, but we'll cover that in other episodes because I'm out of time now. So may the Grey watch over you, guide you, protect you, and keep you from all harm, and may they teach you right from wrong, and may you be worthy of them. May your thoughts, words, and deeds reflect truth, good, and light the unicorn way. Find your joy and pursue it. Make that your guild choice when we go camping. If if you do drugs, stay happy and high. You have every right and reason to. Believe me, I know I wrote 2 books about it. My name is Zion. I'm the spokesperson for the Grey on Earth, and I love you way too much to ever say goodbye. So I'm going to say later now.